Before we begin the episode, I would like to thank our very first sponsor, Chin Up Goggles, the latest vision restriction sport training aid. The goggles eliminate your downward vision, encouraging you to constantly look outward, making it the ideal training accessory for you and your teammates. You can find them on social media at Chin Up Goggles or their website chinupgoggles.com, which will be linked in the description box below. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Sideline Live podcast. Subscribe for more episodes and follow our social media at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 25, I'm delighted to be joined by Dublin Camogie coach Sarah O'Donovan. We had a great chat about her Intercounty Camogie careers with Cork and Dublin, her time as an Irish Underage soccer international, her new role as a coach, and much more. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi Sarah, thanks a million for coming on the podcast.
Nice to be on the podcast, world. I'm really excited to get a chance to chat today.
Great, thanks a million. So can you give a bit of a background to the listeners who might not know who you are?
Sure. I'm from Cork originally, living in Dublin the last 7 years. My career is probably split in three, in that I played camogie forever. I played soccer for a period, and I played ladies football for a period. And at different junctures, I took one sport more seriously than the others, but camogie definitely ended up on top. And I played for Cork for, I suppose, from kind of minor up to senior. So that period was probably kind of 10 years all in, with 3 years playing senior. And then when I moved to Dublin, I played with Dublin for 3 years. So yeah, it's my senior career probably lasted 6 years, but my camogie career across the two intercounty teams probably was nearly 15 years, you know. So yeah. It's mad to think that it went on that long, you know.
Yeah, you probably don't think about it in the moment, like you're just next game, next season, like.
Yeah, I and actually when I was thinking about it today, I think that period when you're trying to make the senior team, it's constantly, you know, from the age of kind of 14, 15, there was a group of us that were mapped out that we could potentially make it. And for 5 years, that was your ceiling, and you were trying to get there. And then when you get there,
it's the next level. It's making the team, then making the starting 15.
Yeah, and it completely changes your perspective. And I wonder, at 15, you know, did I know that it was going to be like that? And I don't think I did, you know, because you're just trying to get there. And that was kind of what the goal was. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to chat about that, but I wanted to kind of go back to, you mentioned there, soccer, Gaelic football, camogie. You obviously played all of them growing up then from probably a young enough age.
Yeah, so 7 or 8, you know, I was the oldest. My dad was the goalkeeper for the local club. My uncles were heavily involved in it. It was just something that we always did, and I was always at the pitch with my dad. My dad would have been playing soccer centre half for a club. He would have been playing, as I said, in goal for the club from a hurling point of view. So our summers were centred around that, and that's where I kind of felt most comfortable. So I'd fall in then, and I was playing soccer with the boys team here in Cork, Knockavilla boys team, and that kind of took me up until I'd say 14. And then I went to Ballincollig to play soccer with the Ballincollig women's team. And I suppose that's where kind of the opportunity came to kind of go next level. While I was doing that, I was trying to play camogie and ladies football at the same time. So my poor mum and dad were in the car every night of the week, just bringing me here, there and everywhere. So it seems mad now thinking back.
Yeah, but it kept you busy and kept you going, and you got a break from school anyway.
Yeah, like I remember just school was just secondary to sport, you know, and in the afternoons it was literally 3:10 out the door. How much time can we fit in, you know, playing soccer? It was kind of 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and you're going home and God, I have a bit of homework to do. But I had great neighbours, the Brennans, and their garden was the garden where everything was kicking off. So we were there for hours and hours on end, you know, playing 3 goals in. So yeah, I don't remember anything else, you know.
Yeah, that's good. And which did you prefer growing up, or were they all kind of equal?
Soccer was my favorite because it was against the boys, and I was on the boys, like I was on the boys team in school, and I suppose we were just like before school, lunchtime, after school, we were always playing it. And there was no disparity that, the boys didn't see me any differently. I was picked second, one of the lads was picked first and then I was picked second. So I just felt like I had found my niche with my crew. And that was where I felt most comfortable. It got a bit strange then when I suppose adults started to make that differentiation that you're a girl. And I was like, hang on a second. The boys don't make that differentiation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
When did you notice that the, like, obviously the lads would just see it as like a peer? If you're playing well, they see it as a peer. If you're not playing well, you'll know. But when did the parents would jump in and kind of make that disparity, as you said?
Yeah, it would have been at 13 or 14. So playing on the boys' team, I was playing left back. There was my next door neighbour, Elaine Kavanagh, was playing centre half or centre mid, and we were both obviously playing in the West Cork League. And you dads there with their sons, and you win a ball off the son, and it's uncomfortable for the dad, because a girl is taking a ball off a boy, and all of a sudden then you're different. And that's, I suppose, that was the thing that you kind of start to go, God, I'll probably have to find a place of my own.
Okay.
And the opportunities were there. And I suppose that's why Ballincollig was so good, because you went back into an environment where I had found a group of girls who loved soccer as much as I did. And, you just had to change your viewpoint. I couldn't stay there forever. I had to move on.
Yeah, there is that age group, because I would have played with the lads with Gaelic football and hurling growing up, and I had to stop at under 12. I think it was a little bit older. I don't think it was always under 12. I think it was a little bit over, but I definitely saw around under 11. I didn't play much under 12. There was kind of like, there was more comments made, oh, there's a girl playing, you know what I mean? It wasn't the same as under 8, where like there was other girls in the team. There was a couple of us that played, but as you do get older, you start to see that a bit more. And when did you start to get involved with the Cork Camogie squads? Because I know you played up an age group with the development teams, or was
so like I would have gone, obviously the Skeena Skull route in Cork was the big route. If your team got to the county final with the Skeena Skull, you were in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and that was kind of probably the first exposure that I would have had playing camogie. And then we went into Clough Turberton in Bandon, and we had an amazing coach in Bandon, Miss Sinead White, and Miss White was obsessed with camogie, and she was obsessed with us as a group of players. And we had probably 17, 18 players at that time who just came into first year together across a number of clubs in West Cork. So World Cronin's club Enniskeane had 5 or 6 girls who were passionate about camogie, and they were brilliant. And then Newcestown supplied another cohort as well, Valley Rovers, Ballinhassig, and Jackie Hurley would have been in that school as well, the RCD supporters. So Sinead kind of, I suppose, gave us this elite environment from first year to third year, that camogie was everything. And we were training lunchtime after school, probably 3 days a week with Sinead. And then we went kind of into the big competitions. So our biggest rivals would have been Charleville. And Charleville is made up now, obviously, like that would have been Aisling Thompson, Anna Geary, Lena Reardon, the Watsons from Milford. All of those Cork names that came on kind of after us. They were our direct competition. Aoife Sheehan, the Limerick player. So at that time, that's kind of where our, I suppose, experience of that level of player was, playing those types of teams. Yeah, so we were exposed kind of fortuitously, and then we just kind of loved it and stuck at it.
Yeah, and did that exposure with the school team then, that obviously led to being selected for the Cork underage squad?
Yeah, so the main squad that was our target when I was the minor team. So the minor being under 16. So so there wasn't an under 14 team to make in my first couple of years in secondary school. The big target was making the Cork minors. So I would have made that squad at 15. Colette Desmond, who would have been in school with me as well, made the squad. So we would have both been playing with the school and then got into the minor squad in that first year, kind of a year below the grade. And we ended up winning the All-Ireland that year against Galway. We beat them by a point, or more. But, the team that year was stacked. It was Jenny O'Leary, Gemma O'Connor, Emer Dillon, Joanne O'Callaghan. These are all players who obviously would have gone on to play with Cork in that period from kind of '05 to 2010, and obviously Gemma stayed on till 2020, but there was the same names popping up all the time. So once you were in the bubble, you stayed there, you know.
Okay, yeah. And what did you, like, obviously that was you would have been a year younger then. What was that like, getting that experience and learning from those players? Because they would have obviously, like, there is, like, a year doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're playing up an age group, there is a bit of a difference there.
There is, and I think, like, I was a tidy corner forward, as was Colette. So we're kind of, you know, it's probably you have the most responsibility that you're expected to score, but you have the least responsibility in that you don't have to necessarily manage the game. You know, you have to be buzzy and bright in the corner, but you're ultimately reliant on your halfbacks and midfields, you know, in terms of distribution and the way the game is played. So I think it was a great learning curve in terms of winning and wanting learning more success. Learning how to win and wanting more success at that age group, and feeling like, right, well, that our next level is, you know, to go to Cork seniors, because actually there wasn't an in between.
There wasn't the under 18 kind of thing.
No. So you went, if you were a minor at 16 and you came out of that and you were good enough, you were gone up. You either went into the Cork junior team or the Cork senior team, depending, you know, how quickly they needed you. Yeah. So,
do you think that's right? Do you think it was too much pressure maybe on a 16-year-old to jump to senior women's?
Anna Geary would disagree. She won her first All-Star at 17, you know.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, like, I suppose the mantra, if you're good enough, you're old enough, or, you know, and Rena was on that team in 2005. Anna was on that team in 2005. Breach Corker was on that team. It's hard to probably discourage players from playing when they're the best players, and that's their only outlet. You know, there wasn't any other competition to offer us. You either went there or you went nowhere. Ideally, now, you'd like to see an under 21 competition. I know there's a minor competition being actually minor as an under 18. But again, I think there could be calls for an under 21 competition for that group of players to play against their peers, because, you know, at 19 or 20 and you're going to face Mary O'Connor, who's the centre back of Cork, and she's 31. It doesn't really, it's the matchup isn't very fair, is it? You know, you'd like a couple of years to find your feet.
Absolutely, yeah. I play ladies Gaelic football, and I know there was an under 21 competition before. Now, it was sort of a blitz and it wasn't run properly, but I definitely think now there is calls like that with Camogie, that for the girls that aren't, because there's a 1% of the 1% are going to jump from the likes of Anna Geary are going to be able to jump, but it's the 99% that you might lose 50% of them. They'll stop football or Camogie completely, and then you've lost a potential all-star. Like, they don't know, just because they don't make it at 19, they're like, oh, I've had enough. Whereas if they stick at it and get that opportunity to develop, they could turn into a top-class talent.
Yes, and I think the experience of being in that environment for 5 or 6 years would bring them on to a level where they'd actually understand and manage the game really well.
Yeah.
But naively, I suppose, at 19, when I landed into that team, I was just hell-bent on making it, but not necessarily bedding in and learning, you know, you're competing against other players for a position. Yeah. You're not looking at necessarily their attributes or skills. You're just trying to be better than them, you know, because that's how competitive the environment is. And it's a dog-eat-dog scenario, you know, and I think the environment, or certainly every environment, could be more about learning and less about that starting spot, you know. There should be a bedding in period where you can watch players who have succeeded and not them feel like you're trying to take their place.
Their spot. Yeah, 100%.
That there should be a happy kind of harmony in being able to learn from somebody and them not feel like you're trying to stab them in the back and put them to the bench, you know. And I think that's probably the hardest part, is trying to find that happy medium within teams. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So then talking about you after that first year of minor, which was under 16 back then, you came back that second year. How did you find that experience being one of the probably more experienced, you had that success before, you probably would have been able to kind of not teach but kind of guide the girls, this is how things are done, this is how we win.
Didn't have enough time. So we got
Okay.
knocked out by Tip in the rag, first round of championship. No
Oh,
back
okay.
door.
Yeah.
A real shock. We had gone up to Tip not thinking that they would be as organised as us. And this is, I'm speaking in, I suppose, retrospectively now. But we went up and we got a hop. Like all of a sudden,
Okay.
we went in as All Ireland champions from the previous year and were knocked out 60 minutes, and that was
Yeah.
us gone. And that's probably where the lack of a minor competition and an under 21 competition comes into play, because all of a
Yeah.
sudden we're knocked out.
That's it. Yeah.
Were exposed as a team that weren't as good as the previous team, and those players who had essentially failed had to try and navigate a way to senior.
Yeah.
And be picked up, even though I suppose junior and senior managers going, God, the minors aren't any great shakes. They got knocked out in the first game against Tip. Who are we going to take up,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, it was a bit of a shock. So there was that, I suppose, that window then where you had to reinvent yourself,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
to be able to do that, you need exposure. So I would have been playing senior, and that's what we, I suppose, had to do as players. You all of a sudden at 17, you go out
Make
and
the
you play
jump.
the big guns. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to start scoring big
Mm.
to be able to keep yourself in the window, because there wasn't an intercounty competition to put you there.
Yeah. And was that the point there? Because I know you transferred club and you had to sit out. Was that around that time that you transferred your
Yeah.
club? Okay.
Yeah. So I would have been, we would have got knocked out by Tip. And that was the 2 years then that I sat out. So
Okay.
I went playing soccer, which was
Yeah. You
kind
used your
of
time
very
wisely.
helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And do you know what? I suppose like, I loved playing soccer. And I probably wouldn't have considered it if I had not transferred, because I just wouldn't have had the
Okay.
time. So
Yeah.
they talk about children, not being exposed to one sport or another, or they should only focus on one thing. And I think that's naive, because the different environments expose me to different things at different times. So
Yeah.
playing soccer obviously resulted in playing against elite players within the Gaynor Cup squad. So we would have gone to Limerick every summer and played in the Gaynor Cup competition, and a phenomenal competition. Like, you're playing the best of the best in Ireland. In Leinster, we would have had a good Munster team, but the Leinster teams were always just that bit slicker than us. We would
Okay.
have been kind of head to head with the Connacht teams. And now when you see in the Women's National League, you've the Galways, you've the Treaty United and Limerick. In Leinster, you have Peamounts and the Wexford Eats and all this. You can see why the four provinces were so, I suppose, well aligned in terms of that competition, and why that competition worked really well. And that kind of gave me that exposure to, I suppose, kind of how competition works in another environment, and
Yeah.
how positive it is to work. And the politics changes as well, because I suppose I had been in playing camogie in Cork, and people have certain biases about certain players because they've seen them play for 5 or 6 years. You go into this new, fresh environment, and you're a completely new player to a completely new group of people,
Yeah.
and your I suppose your strengths and your weaknesses are viewed differently. So you start to view yourself differently, and I got a bit stronger from it, because of all of a sudden, I suppose, the physicality that I would have had in camogie, I was able to use it in soccer, because it was you're expected to be more physical and it's more hands-on, so
Yeah.
that period, those 2 years, best 2 years that I spent, definitely.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, because you always, I think Saoirse Noonan is a great example. She's from Cork. Obviously, she wrapped up the football there after Christmas, but she plays with Cork. She's now moved to Dublin, obviously, but she played with Cork City, and that just shows there's no you don't need to specialise. You can have success in both. And as I really like the way you said it there, you didn't like, it's kind of like you have a second identity, as in like
Yes.
you're two different players, you're two different people, as in you're a
Yeah.
different person on the camogie pitch rather than the soccer pitch, and that's brilliant for players to learn. Like you were saying, you could learn different things and to keep fresh, keep it fresh in your mind. You're not being so bogged down about camogie and making the senior panel the whole time.
Exactly. Exactly. And I was a centre back in soccer, and I was a corner forward or full forward in camogie. So
Yeah,
I was
just
playing
shows.
completely different ends of the field. But,
Yeah,
from a soccer point of view, then as well, I suppose the exposure to international competition. So the Gainer Cup ended up giving me an opportunity to go in for a trial with Ireland under it was under 19, but again, I was the year below
okay.
the grade to play it. And in those 2 years, I got to go to Dublin and do that. But I was the only girl from Cork on the train heading to Dublin on a Friday,
Okay. Yeah.
and that felt, I suppose, a bit isolating. When you look now and you see the likes of Denise O'Sullivan and Clara Shine, and there was loads of girls, Ciara McNamara, Ciara O'Connor, there was loads of girls who kind of had I suppose, a bond together as a group going up. I probably needed that going up from Cork when I was playing. That would have been 2002. That
Okay.
seems like so long ago. But, I was landing in Dublin, and it's like, oh, we've one girl from Cork, we've another girl from Tip, we've 10 girls from Dublin who play against each other all the time and know each other really well.
Yeah.
And you just,
It's hard. Yeah.
you're trying to make friends, and, and you're also trying to fit into an international squad. Sue Ronan would have been the manager of Ireland then, and she obviously went on to manage the Irish women's senior team. But we were training in Clonshaugh, and there was training in the morning, you'd have your lunch, training again in the afternoon, you'd go home, you'd stay in your B&B for the night, following day, training again. Like, just intense, really, really intense, and completely different to Camogie. Yeah. Very, very intense. Yeah.
Did you like that environment, or did you find it tough? Because I always think of it like, I was chatting to someone about sort of that professional life now, and that's not professional, but it's kind of like, it's sort of like for that weekend that you're just training twice or three times a day. That's sort of the professional style. How did you find that? Did you like that environment?
Mixed bag. I think if I had more friends with me from Cork at the time, I'd have been able to enjoy it more. Yeah. I think I know 17 isn't young, but at 17 in Dublin, the only girl from Cork, it just felt a bit exposing, and that competition element that I was still learning, and trying to bed in. I stuck with them for 2 seasons, and at the time you found out if you were selected for the squad by letter. So really, really exciting to get a letter in the post telling you that you had been selected for the Irish Under-19 squad. Like, I still have the letter in a box, lovely. like obviously things are done differently now, but they had those traditions of how you were selected and how successful you were. Then obviously going to the UEFA Championships, we went to Switzerland, and big group of us off to Switzerland, and the squad.
There was loads of crack on that trip.
Do you know what? I like thinking back. I really wish I had it. Some of it's very vivid, and then some of it, I think, God, how did a week pass? What did we do all the time? But you got your full kit, and I had all the kit, and then every morning you'd be told that you were wearing this kit today and that kit tomorrow, and that stuff now for teams, all teams, is quite normal.
Yeah,
but back in 2002, blew my mind. You were just it was so regimented, and so organized. And then I suppose coming into the Cork setup, I was like, oh, the soccer's kind of ahead of the GA a bit, because they were obviously so much more organized. So as it started to come into the GA, it was interesting how the soccer had stolen the march quite early. Yeah.
Okay. And then when did the football come up? Because I know you would have been you were on a college team and Eamon Ryan kind of said, "You're raw. I want to work with you." You emphasised in an interview how raw he said you were.
Yeah,
Talk us through
very
that.
raw. God, he's Eamon was the kind of head of sport and head of GA in UCC at the time, and I had gone into UCC on a sports scholarship and at 19, and again loved my football. I had played football at Valley Rovers here in Shannon, and I suppose from his point of view, he was just, he had 20-25 girls to work with. So my big commitment was Ashburn, and I had a kind of a bit of time to play ladies football. So the Donaghy Cup was on in Belfast, and we had a group of players. We were probably like, the O'Connor Cup team was very well organised, but the Donaghy Cup team was kind of a mismatch of footballers, soccer players, camogie players who just wanted to kind of dabble in a bit of football. And we just got really lucky that we had a nice bunch of girls who just enjoyed playing football and ended up playing. I think we played 2 qualifier games and then had qualified for Belfast. And sure, the crack, and the gear and going to Belfast, right? I hadn't been to Belfast before. Do you know what I mean? All this. And Eamon obviously came up with us because that was his job. And we were playing Davy Fitz's LIT team. So Davy was over LIT, and they were physical girls, but we just kind of wore them down. And as I suppose soccer comes into play then, because that was kind of the mindset, it was just real physical, and those attributes that I have just wear players down. And I was very, very fit at the time. So it's just dog. And I think that's where the rawness is coming in. Like I was getting to the pitch of it. I was catching the ball, but I suppose the silkiness wasn't there. It was just pure, shoulder to the wheel kind of stuff. So we beat Davy Fitz's LIT team to his disgust. And Eamon came up to me after and he said, "Sarah, this was 2005. And I had obviously just made the Cork Camogie team, and he said, look, you're raw, but there's something there." And he's kind of winking at me. Would you consider it? And I said, "Oh, geez, Damon." I said, I can't. Like I said, I'd be a jack of all trades and a master of none. I'll have, I have to do this camogie thing. And he said, "All right, look, but you only get one chance at Eamon." So if I had gone in that week with him, I'd have probably loved it and been there for 10 years and tried to hang on to his boots till the very end. But I think I rang my dad and said, "Dad, what do you think?" And he just said, "No, Sarah, you've worked too hard to get onto the senior camogie team, and I think you're diluting yourself too early." I didn't have I hadn't the games played in football. It seemed
you didn't have that kind of street cred to get the two together.
I just didn't. And I think it would have been, while it would have been amazing and a great experience, I think I wouldn't have got into the camogie team if I had gone with football so early. So
I guess you don't regret that decision then, sticking with the camogie.
No, I don't. I think the camogie for me, I was better at it.
You probably loved it a bit more as well.
Yeah, I did. And football was always third. Camogie was first. Soccer was second, and ladies football was third. And it's not that, I think it's just my pace. I'd have needed more pace to play football to the pace that those girls are playing it at. Whereas in soccer and camogie, you don't need as much speed. I don't think you need as much speed. It's kind of more based on your physical attributes in terms of your catching, your striking, your game management. Whereas ladies football got very fast very quickly.
It's a different type of speed. Like obviously camogie, the ball is flying across the place, but with football the ball is carried. Like you still kick past it, but you're carrying the ball more than you would in camogie, and same with soccer. And talk to me about, you mentioned there kind of coming into that camogie panel. Talk us through that and the kind of environment that it was at the time.
It was, I suppose, a very mature environment. There was a group of players there who had not had success since 2002. Tipperary had been the top dogs 2003 and 2004. And, you know, that Tipperary team was a really, really good team. Jovita Delaney was in goal. Una Dwyer was full back. Ciara Gaynor, Claire Grogan was corner forward. Deirdre Hughes, Ian McDonald. Like, these were all of the players that I was watching on the TV going, holy God, you know, how good are these? Like, and they had that status in Tip that they were just, you know, ethereal. They were incredible sports people, and Tipperary people, men and women, were incredibly proud of them. So they had that celebrity status, you know, like pretty immediately. And the Cork girls were obviously trying to win back you know, that I suppose success that they had given up to Tip. Tip were regarded as the best camogie team in the country, you know, and Cork were playing second fiddle. So there was, I suppose, a pressure there in terms of that mature group of girls who were there in the Cork setup at the time, that they had something to prove. And, you know, Mary O'Connor was centre back. You had Rachel Maloney. You had like the likes of Gemma, Jenny O'Leary, loads of household names. And they just needed a bit of luck. And in 2005, John Cronin came in, and John Cronin had been our minor manager when we beat Galway in 99. So he obviously had a fierce fondness for all of us. Like, he really, really appreciated us. And it felt like, if you were winning for John, the best thing in the world, because he was just so happy, you know, and the environment that he created was just so sound, you know, like it wasn't cynical in any way. And I suppose he felt very safe there. And then he brought in Fiona O'Driscoll as our coach, and Fiona, having won the All-Ireland previously, pocket rocket, you know, scores 3 goals in an All-Ireland final. She had an incredible reputation, and she brought in that professionalism alongside John, that, you know, no stone was left unturned to get everything organized. But she also was learning all the time, and she was watching different things. So like, we all had the same gear for training every day. That stuff that I had seen in the soccer in 2002, 2003, that 2005, that was us. You know, you'd your red shorts, you'd your navy top, like there was a regimentedness that we needed as a group. But yes, John was brilliant, because John just kept it light. So there was kind of a nice juxtaposition of the two. And I suppose that summer we didn't start off great. We lost to Tip in the Munster. The Munster competition was separate to the All-Ireland competition. So we kind of felt, I suppose, that we had 2 hard months to get us prepared for the All-Ireland in September. And if we were going to get there, I think we threw the kitchen sink at it in those kind of 2.5 months. And we played Limerick in the All-Ireland semi-final, and Limerick were kind of at a lower ebb, but had managed to win a couple of games and got into the semi-final, but we absolutely whitewashed them. And I had come on, I think just after half-time. I think I ended up scoring 2 goals. But I suppose that for me, then I was like, I've, you know, if they need a goal in the final, they'll have to call me. Like, they'll have to put me on. They'll, you know, there's no way they can't let me out. So going into the All-Ireland final, you've got massive nerves, and, you know, you're looking down the bench and you're going, I wonder what time they'll bring me on. I wonder, you know. Yeah,
not if, it's when.
But of course, that's the confidence of a 19-year-old. You're like, well, I mean, I scored 2 goals in the semi-final. Of course I'm going to, surely they're going to put me on the pitch. And as time ebbs down, you know what I mean, and you're coming out after half-time and you're going, God, like, if I don't get onto the pitch and they win, it's going to be such a failure, you know, in your head. Because you need to be on the field, and you to justify to yourself that all of that sacrifice is worth it, and all of the years, or it'll be a wasted opportunity if they don't bring you on.
Before.
It really feels like that 60 minutes is everything, even though in hindsight,
even if you played every other match the whole time and you just missed the final, it's that 60 minutes that matters.
Yeah, it's critical, because that's where all of the occasion and the emotion comes to play. And I suppose I'm watching the top clock tick down, and I think we were pretty neck and neck. There was about 40, 42, 43 minutes on the clock. And I was thinking, okay, surely, when you're looking down at the bench and you're looking up and you're seeing if there's any nod or any move or anything, and right, okay, Sarah, you're going in. Like, absolute terrifying in the best possible way. And I was going into Mark Dwyer, and I said, like, you forget that as badly as you want to get onto the field, you're going into Mark Dwyer. Oh, Jesus.
And what's that conversation like in your head when you get the nod and you're walking down towards Una? Are you shitting yourself, or what's it like?
Absolutely, because she'd been playing so well, and you're going in to do a job, and you have to find a way to break her down, and obviously behind her is Jovita Delaney, and in front of her is Ciara Gaynor, mother of God. Like, all of a sudden the responsibility feels too much. But I was only on the field about 5 minutes, and this mad dropping ball comes in, and as was my habit, I used to love antagonizing fullbacks, and I don't know what I did or where she thought I was going to go, but herself and Jovita lost sight of the ball, and the ball ended up in the back of the net. I didn't touch it.
Okay.
Una didn't touch it. Jovita didn't touch it. But there's this mad moment where I go into the net to check if the ball is in the net. The ball is officially in the net. I cannot claim responsibility for the goal, but I reckon if I wasn't annoying Una, the ball wouldn't have gone back in the net.
So you're taking credit for that now.
Well, we can play it back.
We can debate that one.
I never touched it, but Una didn't touch it either, which is the critical point. So we ended up winning the game, and I like the noise. There was this mad, incredible noise that happens to your left in the stand when the final whistle goes. You can't hear anything. It's like that dog whistle. I can't explain it, but Emer Dillon was across from me, and the two of us just started leaping up and down. Like, we couldn't believe it. It was my first All-Ireland, obviously, on the pitch. She ended up getting player of the match because she had the most outrageous game. And we would have been clubmates at Ballygarvan, and I suppose
that's lovely.
Yeah, and the two of us were just ecstatic. It was the maddest experience, and it's actually lovely to relive it. But if you want to find the footage, you will see that I never touched the ball, but neither did Una Dwyer.
And what was that? What was, obviously the celebrations after were I'd say were great. And what was that like going back to the club with your teammates, and kind of, because you play for your parish, and then when you go to your county, again, you're representing your county and your parish, and that must have been so proud getting to go back and being like, and thank everyone, and thank all the, whether it was teammates, coaches, whoever, like, and kind of share that victory with them.
Well, the brilliant thing was the summer before, we had, so 2004, we had won the Senior County Camogie Championship with Carrickdown. So that would have been all of the clubs in Carrickdown, which would be Ballinhassig, Shannon, Ballygarvan. There was 5 or 6 clubs together. So we had beaten Milford in the county final 6-11 to 5-11, an absolute rip roar of a game, right? So everything kind of fed from that game. So in that year, we had won a senior county championship. We'd won I think we won the senior B with the club, and then we obviously won the senior All Ireland, the big one. All of those 3 together were just amazing, outrageous. Yeah. So we kind of had gone on this year of winning, and it just felt like we weren't going to stop winning. But of course, that
everything comes to an end.
Everything does come to an end. So we were just buoyed along by this mad year, of winning and being successful and coming out on the right side of results.
Yeah. And what was that like then afterwards? Because they always say second season syndrome, I think. What's that like after? Because obviously you need to celebrate, but how hard is it to kind of put the head down again and go back at it?
I think the 2006, the same core dynamic was there, and
Okay.
yeah, like we won in 05, we won in 06, and it was 2007 when Wexford came out of,
Nowhere.
we came out of nowhere
Yeah.
and caught us.
Okay. So
and
that was nearly 2006 was kind of, there wasn't much of a change then.
No.
It was more the 2007.
No, we beat Tip again in 2006 in the final, and again, same scenario, kind of, I think we were more organized in 2006 if I remember. Just we were more confident in ourselves because the monkey was off our back. And then in 2007 we were going for the 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's where I suppose the story unravels for me, in that was my last season playing senior with Cork. After that loss, I was 21, 22, and I was mad to go to Australia. The way we all were mad to go to Australia I was like, God, I've been playing camogie for my whole life, and I've been playing sport for my whole life. I need to go and see the world, which the world's always going to be there. You just don't realize it at the time. So I think from Cork Camogie's point of view, there was, I mentioned that there was kind of a group of mature players who were kind of coming to the end of their careers, and then there was that kind of cycle of change. So yeah, when I stepped away from Cork, they obviously won kind of a couple together after that, and then Wexford went on that run of 3 All-Ireland. So they kind of tipped about, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think I didn't. The funny part about leaving the Cork setup in 2007 was I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it. I was ready to step away right then. Yeah.
Okay. What was that because of the loss? Was it just the commitment, or was it just the pull of kind of getting to see the world?
I think actually it was about, I think it was, I wasn't looking at senior as 3 years. I think I was looking at committing to camogie since I was 14. Okay. Do you know what I mean? It was like 8 or 9 years where everything was invested in making the team. Yeah. So that's probably where I wanted something different. And like I suppose looking back now, I didn't need to go then, and I could have stayed, and I would have enjoyed it, and I would have loved it. But at that point I was just tired. I was ready for a break.
You kind of needed that break. So you came back to Cork after you went travelling, and you were in the intermediate team.
Yeah. And I would have been working with the Evening Echo and the Examiner as a journalist, sports journalist. And I had just finished my degree in English, and I suppose, I was out at games and I was watching the men's games, and I was kind of, I was really enjoying writing and having an opinion and being in the newspapers. And this was before Twitter. So it was my opinion that mattered because it was on the page of the newspaper, not everyone else's opinion. So I had 3 solid years there where nobody was, having an opinion to match mine, which felt quite powerful. But glad I managed to get out before the era of social media, because it's just it's a hard sell now, for writers right now. But that probably that period playing intermediate with Cork was just enough. But at the same time, obviously the Women's National League had just started, and the soccer league was something that I was mad to tip into again. We talked a while ago about identity and just kind of changing, and going into the Women's National League with Cork City meant that fresh start, something new, a new way to make a contribution to a new team that needed me. Yeah. And sometimes I think that's what happens, is that you don't feel like you're needed or valued, and you can actually find a new way to feel that you're making a contribution by going in with a new team, so that freshness. Yeah.
You went back playing soccer, and you would have been playing alongside Denise O'Sullivan. What was that like? Obviously playing, I know you would have played against the likes of Stephanie Roach, and I know Denise is now in North Carolina playing in States. What was that like playing against that elite talent again that you would have been exposed to probably at that under 19 level with Ireland?
I think playing with Cork City then, I was incredibly lucky to get to play alongside Denise. She is an exceptional talent, and she would have been 19 at the time.
Wow, yeah.
19, 20. And you could see that Denise was going to the moon, just in terms of the way she applies herself to training, and her lightness of feet, her skill level was outrageous. And alongside her, Amy O'Connor was in with us as well. And you had Claire Shine, who was in with us. Then obviously in direct opposition, as you said, Stephanie Roach, Rihanna Jarrett. I suppose week on week, I was playing centre, so I was playing either 6 or 8. And every week you were meeting an international. There was never an easy week.
Yeah.
There was this girl playing for Shamrock Rovers, Rachel Jenkins, who used to play with the Irish setup. I was always being tasked to mark somebody of that caliber who was in and around the 20, in terms of the Irish squad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I wasn't in there to play football. I was in there as a battering ram, you obviously horses for courses. I was incredibly fit. I really liked marking players.
Yeah.
I suppose I always really enjoyed that, just in terms of wearing players down. And so I identified that was where they saw as my strong suite. You know what I mean? I wasn't overwhelmed marking Stephanie Roach. I saw it as a challenge, and getting that experience, and now seeing them all, obviously they're all back in the Irish squad again.
Yeah.
And I'm like 36 going, mother of God.
And even you mentioned Rihanna there, like she's playing in the UK now as professional. Yeah. You said Denise, like you see the talent. It's not an accident that these girls are where they are. They had probably that focus as well. You probably saw them on the pitch like laser focused, like they didn't care, but you were like nearly invisible. They were just going for goal. They didn't care you were there.
I'm mentioning them, they won't be mentioning me in their broadcasts. That's the difference. So what, as lovely as this is, and as lovely as we reminisce on my career, Stephanie's not going to be going, God, remember that girl in Cork who I marked who kicked me in the leg? I won't have made the same impact on them, but I really did enjoy being part of the squads and getting to play at that level, because when you make a tackle or you intercept a ball, you've done your very best.
Yeah, that was your win
to do that. Yeah, that was my win. That's enough for me. Yeah. So, I really, really enjoyed it. And the only downside to it, I suppose, was just the length of time we spent traveling. So, we'd get on a bus at 8:30 in the morning, and it'd take us 12 hours to get through the day, in terms of pre-match, game, food, post-match, back from Dublin to Cork. And every week. Yeah. And some of the results were worth it, and then some of the results weren't. So getting to play in Turner's Cross, obviously, the girls are back in Turner's Cross this year for the first time, which is brilliant, and really, really glad they're back in Turner's Cross. The season we got to play there, it just kind of shaped our year, because it allowed you to feel like you were playing at an elite level, and it certainly is one of my abiding memories of playing with Cork City, was getting to be in the Cross and scoring into the shed, and
it's cool.
Those are memories.
It's what you would have dreamed of on the street in your friend's garden, playing with the lads,
absolutely nuts. So it's to score into the shed end, and I think it's one particular day I ended up scoring twice, and I remember actually so it was a free kick was, I don't know who lined up the free kick, but it came back to me, and I just leathered it, and it ends up in the top corner. And I'm standing there in absolute shock, because I've hit this screamer from 25 yards. Denise O'Sullivan is in tears, laughing on the sideline next to Eric Mara, who was our strength and conditioning coach at the time. The two of them are in such shock. She can't believe it. He can't believe it. I can't believe it. And the two of them are bent over laughing that this screamer has gone in from 25 yards that I certainly didn't mean in Turner's Cross. And I'll never forget her face, because I was going, you can give me a small bit of credit here. And the two of them were bent over laughing. They thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Yeah. So, yeah.
Is this on video now? Can I find this?
I don't know if you'll find Denise laughing, but I can see her face. Like, she and Eric were bowled over laughing. They thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Yeah, no one just expected, me to hit it that well and it ended up in the top corner. Now, Becky Casson has scored an absolute screamer last week for Cork City. She meant it. Yeah, I didn't. So there's a big difference there. Yeah.
And when did you wrap up playing with Cork? Like, I know you moved to Dublin. You didn't play soccer up here at all?
No, I came to Dublin November 2013, and I went straight into two club teams in Dublin, Fingallians out in Swords, playing ladies football, senior football with them for that summer.
Yeah.
And the following, I did kind of 8 months with them, and I was playing with St. Vincent's at the same time.
Okay.
And two senior teams training 4 nights a week, it got heavy. It just in terms of commitment, because you only play one or the other up in Dublin technically. I don't, there's very few people manage to play both.
100%.
Yeah, just because of, I suppose, because of how the summer is structured up there in terms of the game. So you're playing Monday, Tuesday, when, you know what I mean, it's
and when you're playing,
really relentless.
And when you're playing that Division 1 standard, it's not like you can play a game, like you can't play a full camogie game and then go out the next day and play a full football game. You'll get exposed. Like, you're burning candle there at two ends. Like, it's not going to end well for you.
No, it's not. And I suppose the front runner then for me was camogie, because I wanted, again, not enough pace to play football at that level. I remember we played Kilmacud Crokes one day. And mother of God, like, I think Molly Lamb, and I was going, oh my God, like, just, and she hadn't even hit the peak for powers at that point. And I was going,
they're young teams still. They are up and coming.
Yeah, there was no way that I was going to get near her. And I was going, no, I think camogie will suit me better. I'm 30 years of age, I'll need to cut my cloth to suit my measure here. And ladies football in Dublin is just too speedy for me. So and I think, that's not to disparage camogie at all. It's just, as you said, the ball travels faster. Yeah. The ball does the work in camogie. In ladies football, you physically have to move the ball up and down the field. So Dublin came knocking in November of that year, 2014, and went straight into the Dublin setup, and had 3 of the best years playing with Dublin. Like, just, I suppose, just in terms of the group of players that were there, and how committed they were to it. And we had some really successful days and we had some tough days, but I think we were in a really good place then, in that everyone who was there was really passionate about it, and they applied themselves, and we got as much out of the team as we could. Which is nice to know, is that we did get as much out of the team as we could.
Definitely. Talk me through some of those good days, and I know there would have been a lot of the tough days, but your first year, you came in November 2014, so your first year you were nominated for an All-Star that year. Like, you clearly were you were getting successful, but I get the sense that you were enjoying your camogie that year.
Hugely so. Yeah, I had gone in with an open mind, had done a load of training in the previous year, obviously between football and camogie, and felt really well. I didn't have a break, because obviously we went from finishing up the camogie kind of October and straight into the Dublin setup in November, so I didn't lose any fitness in that period. And we played, we kind of had we had a nice championship draw, in the sense that we had teams that we could
compete,
hit ourselves against. Yeah. So we played Kilkenny in the championship in Parnell Park, and we held them, in that it wasn't it wasn't by no means a whitewash. I think they won by 4 or 5 that day, and for us that was a result, because
that's what you wanted.
Well, that
Well, you wanted the win, but that was the level you were nearly at. It was kind of holding them to that.
Yeah, like the previous summer, the girls had they'd lost to Cork by something like 34 points. And that was where the group, I suppose that was the low ebb for that group of players. So to come back around kind of, the bones of 7 months later and to be competing with Kilkenny right up until kind of the 45 minute mark, and then allow them to slip away with 5 points versus 34 points, you know what I mean? It's a massive turnaround. Yeah. So I suppose that day was the day when, and I know Elaine O'Mara from Na Fianna, she was tasked with marking Denise Gall that day, and Elaine kept Denise scoreless. She was, Elaine was playing wing back that day, and Elaine was incredibly fit, and just like what I would say to you is applied herself. Every last ember of her body to that role and got it done, So there was a group of players there that were really, really mentally well able for that kind of a job. So we ended up playing Tip, and we drew with Tip in Portlaoise, and the Dublin men's hurlers happened to be on after us, I think. Yeah, they were on after us. So it was a fierce crowd there. There was about 6,000 or 7,000 people in the venue by the time the last kind of 15 minutes of our game was on. A real buzz in the pitch, and we were down a goal, and ball came in, and I put the ball in the top corner, and there was just an eruption of sound from the stand, and I was going, holy Jenny Joseph, like just so really, like just so exciting, because the energy was so good, and there was so many people there, and I was going, God, this is what it feels like to be back at that level, and I think one further ball came in, and I caught it, and I handed it off to Siobhan Keogh, and Siobhan slotted it over at the bar, and we ended up drawing with Tip, which gave us kind of the points we needed to stay in the competition. We went on, then played Clare, I think. We played Derry, and we beat Derry, and then we ended up drawing with Clare. So I think it was a mixed bag of results, but what happened was we obviously ended up drawing with Clare and having the same points as Clare.
Yeah, and I remember this.
Famous coin toss game ended up, coming out. And I suppose, again, unprecedented group of players who, had given her all for the summer, and they were telling us that it was going to be dealt with by a coin toss. Are you joking? Please don't. And Pádraig Lodge kicked off our kind of, I suppose, what was it? Our campaign on Morning Ireland on the Monday of that week, saying, surely they can't be.
You wouldn't see that with the men's. That's all I'm going to say. No. You wouldn't see the toss-up happening there. Yeah.
And Shane Lowry got involved, and he was giving out about it. And there was, all of a sudden, it got a bit of momentum up. And then it was a case of, how are you thinking you're going to, do this? Yeah. And needless to say, the Camogie had to roll back, and we got our famous match in Semple Stadium on the Saturday. Very exciting to be in Semple Stadium on Saturday, obviously, and get a chance to do this fair and square with Clare, and whoever was going to win was going to be in the All-Ireland quarter-final against Wexford on the Monday. So they gave us, they said, you can have your qualifier, not a bother. We'll give you Semple Stadium on the Saturday, but you'll be all out. Whoever wins will be out on Monday to play Wexford in the All-Ireland quarter-final. So we went, okay, fair enough, right? You give it with one and you take it with the other. And went to Semple Stadium and got the result. And like literally a day and a half later, where we find ourselves in Carlow and ready to play Wexford, who had obviously had, 3 weeks off, had got themselves, organised, and
they would have been watching yous that day. Like, I know, like, of course, in the grand scheme of things, that's only going to play a small part, but that is big, like, for them to, like, it is a big thing to be able to watch the team before, and you would have been so focused on the Clare game, you wouldn't have thought about Wexford, really.
No, couldn't. We were in bonus territory, you know what I mean? And we ended up, we started badly, but we got ourselves back around and ended up, I think, a point down with kind of 30 seconds on the clock. You know, that's how close it was. And of course, afterwards, you're kicking yourself thinking, God, if we just had a week to prepare, you know,
if only.
how would we have got on? Yeah. So that was 2015 in a nutshell. And nominated for an All-Star, and, you know, delighted to be nominated. At the same time, we had won the championship with Vincent's for the first time, I think, in 7 years. And again, the summer just kept rolling and rolling. You know, the win streak kept running and running.
Yeah.
And played the Leinster Championship, beat Mullinavat in a really good game. And Mullinavat would have been out and out favourites. The likes of Elaine Aylward, Michelle Quilty, all of these players coming to Dublin, not expecting a Dublin team to have that much camogie to be able to beat them in a Leinster Championship. They went back to Kilkenny very shocked by that result. And we ended up playing Oulart in the Leinster final. So, you know, great. Camogie All-Stars on the Friday night. Leinster final against Oulart on the Saturday.
Oh, like, okay. Yeah.
Sound. Thank you very much, Camogie Association. So I was at one table drinking water. Mary Lacey, another table drinking water. Yeah.
Eyeing each other across the room.
Yeah, literally going, who's
see you
going
tomorrow.
to go to bed first? Yeah, literally. Yeah. So I didn't even get to have shots at the bar for the All-Star nomination. Disgusted. And we ended up, obviously Oulart were out and out favourites for that. And we ended up racing ahead and then giving up a kind of 7-point lead, and we lost the game by a point in the dying seconds. Yeah.
It's always worse when you do that, when you either if you're ahead or if you just lose by a point. It's so much worse than getting absolutely hockeyed. Like, yeah.
I remember Mary Lacey picking me up off the ground at the end, because I was literally on the ground on my honkers, and she said, Sarah, I'm so sorry, because she knew that they had robbed it. You know what I mean? And I was looking at her going, yeah. Now, she obviously celebrated.
Yeah.
She was well able to celebrate it, but she did. She came over and she picked me up by the arm. She said, Sarah, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Because she knew we'd put our heart and soul into it. Like,
she's a competitor, and she knew use our competitors, and you feel that from one another. You know, you're enemies, but at the same time, you know, the night before I don't know if you're having with crack, but you would have been colleagues, and it's kind of, I really like that about Gaelic football is you hate each other on the pitch. Now some people hate each other off the pitch as well, but you kind of have that mutual respect, whereas if you win or lose, you do, like, I'd make a point to shake my hand, you know, if with my opponent if they lose, because I've been there, and it's not a nice feeling, especially if it's by a point in a Leinster final, like
in a Leinster final. And look, it was one of those days I went, oh God, like, just so close, so close. Yeah, so close to the bar, but didn't get there, you know? So I think all of that, so I suppose I would deem it as success, because I was constantly getting to play against the best of the best, even though some of the results weren't coming off. You were competing, and you know, sometimes that has to be enough. That you're competing at that level.
100%. And coming into the next season, I remember I originally watched that AIG video when it came out. Was that 2016 it was made, or what year was that?
That was 2017.
Oh, 2017. Sorry, so I'm a year ahead of myself. Yeah. What was that? So what was that 2016 season like then, before 2017?
2016, we started quietly enough. I think we were no longer the surprise package. You know, people knew that we could get some results. A bit. David Hegarty came in with Shane O'Brien that year. It was his first year involved with Camogie. So I suppose David had aspirations to take the team on in 2017 and 2018 when he came in to look at the team in 2016. So he was finding his feet. Different managers have different approaches. Shane liked certain players. David preferred other players. There was a mix match kind of in terms of how the team looked because of their different approaches, and we weren't as organized. I know David wouldn't have been a fan of mine, so he would have left me out of certain games. I know I was on the bench for the Galway game. We were playing Galway in Parnell Park, and he brought me on late again, threw me in on top of Sarah Dervin. And I scored a goal. I think I kind of 30 seconds on the pitch, and I had a goal, and I should have had a second. And I was just there going, is this how it's going to be? Like, you know, that I'm going to have to fight with you now just to prove that I should be in this spot, you know? So it was kind of a mixed bag of a year for me. And then we played Derry in the final group game, and we had to beat Derry by 25 points to qualify for the quarterfinal. And we beat Derry by 24 points.
Oh, Jesus.
So beat them by 24 points. And again, I was put in full forward for the game, you know, delighted to be obviously playing at 14. I scored a goal after 30 seconds. I had another goal after 12 minutes. And I was like, right, I'm on for my hat trick here. Yeah. And the hat trick never came. You're like, damn it. Yeah, you know, and you're just thinking, God, the goals are on today. I could end up with 5, you know what I mean? And, you know, your head starts getting ahead of yourself and you're fierce excited about all the goals that could come. Anyway, got 2. That's all we got. But we ended up getting knocked out. So that was 2016, done and dusted. But Vincent's were going fierce well. And we kind of went out of the Dublin group and into the Vincent's kind of, I suppose, bubble, and ended up in a Leinster final again. And lost to Thomastown, which is obviously Megan Farrell, Shelley Farrell, Kate MacDonald, like serious team. We were winning that game until the last 30 seconds, and we were winning it the whole way through. And then a Catherine O'Sullivan goal at the death stole it, and they won it by a point. And I was standing in Parnell Park going, sweet mother of divinity. Like, but again, I remember thinking, this has to be enough. Do you know, like you didn't get there. Like losing 2 Leinster finals in a row by a point isn't a criticism of you as a player. Do you know what I mean? It's just the roll of the dice. So you have to look at how the fact that I put myself into that position, and you know that we as a team were competing with the best in Kilkenny and the best in Wexford, you know, and we were a Dublin team who were really, I suppose, you know, not considered as good as those teams, but yet we were competing against them. Yeah. So,
and you mentioned that before, competing with those teams in your eyes is a success. And I had a question written, and it was kind of about that. And you had a good quote. It was kind of about, you know, chasing excellence or chasing perfection, because you can never get perfection. If there's a good quote, perfection is unattainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. When you are trying to chase that excellence or chase that perfection, how do you measure that success as a player?
I think, and my feeling of being involved with that Vincent's team is that everybody in that setup then was training to be their best self. And what came out of that was a team that was able to compete at a level that they hadn't competed at before. Yeah. And the feeling was that when you turned up to training, that you were going to leave, I know it's cliche, absolutely everything on the field, but the level of support and competition within the group was kind of perfect, because we knew we needed everybody. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like with Cork where people were looking over their shoulder going, I can't let her in here, you know. Yeah. You know, and maybe that's just a difference between an intercounty and a club. But I suppose from a club aspect, everybody who improved over the course of that 2 months was going to benefit the whole team. And we were all chasing perfection, and we, you know, excellence came out of that, you know, in terms of the way we applied ourselves to every single game. So like a really, really good group, really good group of players. And I suppose in 2017, you know, we lost to St. Martin's of Wexford in the Leinster club semi-final. And that was probably the unraveling of that group then, because we lost 2 Leinster finals, 2015, 2016 by a point, then went down to St. Martin's expecting to beat them and lost, and lost very well. And they were excellent that day. And then it was a case that basically Vincent were going to have to
It's kind of that
regroup.
cycle. Yeah.
It was a cycle, and it was an end. And you know what? There's 11 players from that 2017 team are now gone.
Yeah.
So 11 players, a turnover of 11 players in 4 years in a senior squad is a lot. It's big. And that's probably, why it feels like a different setup now, if that makes sense. Like obviously the new group, they regrouped, and the new group went on to win Leinster and won it in 2019 and are still the Leinster champions by virtue of the fact that there wasn't a competition in 2020. So like that group of players, that new group of players was a kind of a mixture of the players who had lost 2 consecutive finals by a point, and then a new group of players who had no fear or loss, and it was obviously a nice marriage, and they got over the line in 2019. But it's a different team, the team that I played with in 2017. And I suppose that's what you kind of remind yourself of, is my team doesn't exist anymore. You know, like we've all gone different directions. Yeah.
And as with that club team, obviously it was like that sounds like a really high level, and with county, that's an elite level, and you're constantly striving to be better and improve. Is it hard to switch off and kind of be okay with, let's say, a Friday night just relaxing, or is it just this constant, I need to improve, I need to get better?
I think that I overestimated I think I underestimated, I suppose, the need for downtime, because I remember us losing against Thomastown in Parnell Park, and David Hegarty was there, and he was up in the stand, and obviously that was the end of 2016. It was 5th of November 2016, right? And maybe it was the 11th, but anyway, it was the start of November, and I saw him up in the stand, and I remember at the final whistle just looking up at him going, he must think we're such a, I suppose the word is batters, we had it in our hands, and we've let it slip through, and a Kilkenny team has come up to Dublin and they've managed to rob us blind, and take a title that we had nailed on with 30 seconds to go. And I was really disappointed that I had shown him that weakness, right? So the following Tuesday, I messaged him and he said, look, you can take a week off. And I said, no, I'm grand. I said, I'm going to go back in. He goes, what? And I said, no, I said, I need to play. I said, I need to puck. I need to get back onto the pitch and forget, just move on from that loss. Yeah. I'm talking 5 days afterwards. And he was like, no, seriously, Sarah, you don't have to. And I said, no, I do. And went out onto the pitch and we played a practice match, and my knee was absolutely out like a balloon. I couldn't walk, not mind run, but I had this idea in my head that I would, work that frustration and that disappointment out of myself less than a week after losing a big game like that. So no, when you were in it and you were chasing that perfection, you didn't stop, and to my detriment, because obviously not taking that break resulted in me not being able to play for pretty much the whole of 2017. And realistically, I suppose 4 years later, I still can't run properly, for long periods. I'll get to do the odd 5K here and there, and then they'll have an ice pack, and you have to rest up for another day after. Absolutely. And like playing a match, playing the bones of 20 minutes of a game would be as much as my expectation is now, because my knee just can't, I just did so much damage during those 2 years. That relentless work and that relentless, I just wanted to win. I was chasing winning, like that Leinster title was all I wanted. And there's a price to pay for being in that cycle of being that good at being that close. Yeah, definitely. Can you talk to the listeners through kind of that journey you had with your knee? Because I would have watched that AIG video. I remember watching it originally and being like,
this one is mad. I was like, what is she doing? Like, but like I've rewatched that a couple of times, and as you said, when you're in that, like it's different. It's a different mentality, and I always throw my mum under the bus. She doesn't get this at all. She doesn't get why you sacrifice all of this and you do all this. Why do you put yourself through this?
There's a point when you're playing, and I've only ever gotten in. There's different games that I'll remember where you're playing on this level and it's nearly white noise, or you've gone above yourself. You're nearly outside of your body, and you're working at such a speed, and you're doing things with the ball, and you're getting into positions that you wouldn't normally. You're kind of nearly otherworldly in terms of your or what it feels like, you know, in my body when I'm playing games like that, and you're just getting around the field like it's nobody's business. And I know the day against Clare in Semple Stadium, it felt like that day. Like before halftime, I was just buzzing. I was everywhere. I went into the dressing room and I vomited. Wow. And I was inside, and I came out, and the person was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "No, I just needed to get that energy out of my body." Like it was, wow. I just couldn't explain the energy that was in my body, and it came at me. Like I vomited, and then I kind of reset, and like there was nothing in my system, because I obviously, you know, hadn't eaten in 3 hours, and I'd burnt off, you know, what I had for my breakfast. So it was just purely an urge to get that energy out of my body. And you went out for the second half and did the same, and those kind of days are incredibly rare, but they feel absolutely fantastic. And I think that's what you're chasing, is to get to that level where you're just unstoppable, you know. And like, there's very few games in my career where I felt in myself that I was doing that, but those are the days that I chased. And I always thought there was one more of those games in me. So with the knee, and with Dublin, and with Vincent, I always thought that I'll get one more day like that where I was invincible, you know, and it didn't come. But that's what I was chasing, I think, was that invincibility that I had on those days, and they're ingrained in my brain, you know. So that's what you remember when you're playing, is those invincible days. You don't remember the days running. And at the time, you ruptured your ACL, or you had to get it reconstructed, but you decided not to. Yeah, so it actually turned out that I didn't have an ACL.
Okay.
Well, it had evaporated or disintegrated. Yeah. It had disintegrated, and we couldn't put a time frame on when it had disintegrated, but it just wasn't there. It didn't, you know, it. And I suppose, having not had it for the previous 2 seasons, and having gotten through as much work as I had gotten through, because I suppose in my head that's what I was grading it as. I've got through a load of work here. I was going, God, well, if I didn't have it in 2015 and I didn't have it in 2016, sure, why would we hold myself up? You know, I'll be able to pull through here. And I had met the surgeon, and he said, "Look, Sarah, you're talking 18 months in terms of rehab." And I know it seemed like a mad kind of time frame to put on a recovery from an ACL, which can normally be much shorter. But he just said, "Look, you've got no support around it. Your cartilage is gone. You've really damaged it. So when we go in, the support structures that you've created in terms of, I suppose, building it to a point where I was able to do without the ACL, they would have obviously undone all of those structures to be able to put the cruciate back in." So that's why the level of rehab would have been so off the charts. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just went, 18 months? Sure. Oh my God, like, no, that feels far too far away. I couldn't possibly, you know. I'll do the physio, and look, we'll do a scope. And he actually went in and he did a scope, and he cleaned out the knee and took out all the floating bits. And he then went into the left knee and did the scope, took out all the floating bits, because I had a problem with the left knee as well, but the cruciate was intact. So he did those 2 surgeries kind of day 1 and day 30 in a month. And I was like, right, this is good. I'm ready to I'm ready to get back in with Dublin here. But I didn't have the flexibility that I thought I had in the knees. And then as a result, it ended up impacting my Achilles and started having real trouble with my Achilles. And there was just a knock on. So 2017 ended up, for all of my guff and my muster and my bravery, I actually made myself more frustrated because I just couldn't get back to that place where I was in 2015, 2016. Couldn't get there. Didn't have the same mobility. And in hindsight, I know what I'm doing in the video, and I know why I did what I did to play with Dublin, because I was chasing that day, that one day, that exceptional day. It wasn't worth it, and like the sacrifice of not getting my knee done then, when I had an opportunity to have it fixed, has resulted in me not running for 4 years. Like we're now at 2021 and I can't do a 5K, or I can't do a 10K, or if I do, I'll suffer for it for 2 days because I just don't have the structure. So I wonder, you look at Cora Staunton, she breaks her leg in 2 places and she has 2 operations and she does incredible physio, and she's now 40 and playing the AFL and she's better than ever.
Yeah.
So if I had had the foresight to actually take the time to have the knee reconstructed then, would I now 4 years later not necessarily be playing with Dublin, but would I have...
You'd have a
capacity?
More than a 20 minutes in you.
Yeah. I think I would have. And, I went back last January and I went into the surgeon in Santry and I said, hello, I'm back. I'm back. So, that cruciate repair that we talked about, remember in 2017, can we do it now? And he said, no. He said, there'll be no uplift for you doing that right now. He said, you've gone too far. And then he suggested a second operation with the second doctor, and it was a unilateral knee replacement. So they take out the left side of my knee and put in half a knee. So basically, yeah. So I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. Can we do that? So I went to meet the surgeon, and the surgeon was from Tyrone. And he said, no, I'm not doing that. You're too young. I can't justify cutting out half your knee. You're too young. But you should see this surgeon. He does an osteopathy. And I was like, oh, right. What's an osteopathy?
Yeah.
Went into the next surgeon, and surgeon used to play rugby with Romania, and really high level sports person, right?
Yeah.
And he looked at my knee and he said, right, an osteopathy, do you know what it is? And I said, no. And he said, we'll take cadaver bone and we'll put the cadaver and we'll insert it basically between the 2 parts of my knee that are now wearing off each other.
Yeah.
And he said, we'd be basically cranking up the knee by about kind of 0.4 or 0.5 millimeters to lift your...
Yeah.
I'm explaining this really badly, but
no, I get it.
Little bone.
Because you would have been, because your tibia and femur would have been rubbing off each other.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
Okay,
so, well, I suppose it's uncomfortable, and that's where the impact comes from, where you can't repeatedly train on it because that's the exposure. So I said, oh my God, this sounds amazing. So I said, he said, basically your knee is like a tire. On one side of it is worn. So he said, worn away. The other side is quite, so we'll put in the cadaver bone, and we'll literally take, we'll take the pressure off the left side of the knee, and we'll allow it to wear down on the other side. I was like, that sounds amazing. And he said, I'm not doing it for you. He said, forget it.
Yeah.
And I said, why? And he said, because he said, your goal is to get back onto the pitch and get to the level where you were. And I said, that's why we're, this modern medicine. Yeah. And he said, no, he said, I can't do that. I can't do that surgery for you. So
how devastating is that? Because in your mind, you can still get there, but your leg won't allow you.
Yeah, no, it's an incredibly frustrating thing. I suppose he asks me, what can I do? And I said, oh, well, I can do the majority of CrossFit, I can, I just don't do the jumps. And he's like, right. And I said, I can rollerblade, you know, and he said, you rollerblade. And I said, yeah. I said, that's like, there's no impact. Like I said, you're just whizzing along. And he's asking me all of these questions, and I'm realizing that I should have said that I can't get out of bed in the morning, and then he would have done the surgery.
Yeah.
But I suppose he's just looking out for me, saying, realistically, you're 36 and you're not going to get back to that
that level.
Exceptional game that you think that you need.
Yeah.
You know, this surgery, what did he say? He said, we don't do cosmetic surgery for knees, Sarah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I, you know, he was like,
it's not,
this isn't a runner for you. Yeah. So that was last March, just before the start of the pandemic.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had met the 3 surgeons, and I'd gone through, I was so excited every day coming out with my booklet being like, they could do this.
Yeah.
No, they won't. They could do this. No, they've said no. So in the end, I suppose I just had to accept what's on the table. And now what's on the table is a 20-minute cameo, you know, in a club championship game that, you know, that will have to scratch the itch, basically.
Yeah. You kind of have to make do with the 20 minutes. But sure, look, it's better than nothing. It's better than 9 minutes. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny to have had so many things available to me, like Camogie ladies football, soccer, and now ladies football and soccer would be 2 wearing on the leg, you know, so those aren't available to me anymore. So it's literally Camogie's the last woman standing. the last sport left.
Yeah. And talk to me about your new role with Dublin. Just say to the listeners who might not know, you're coming in as a coach for the 2021 season.
Yeah, and I suppose it's something that I hadn't considered initially. I had been advocating for the team for the last 2 years because I had felt that they hadn't been getting a fair shout from the county board, right? And, you know, now's not the time to stick daggers into county boards, etc. Because, you know, but at the time I just felt the players weren't being afforded the opportunity to show what they had.
Yeah.
And having been involved with the group of girls, and, you know, there's a fair few of them still left, I really wanted them to be excited about playing with Dublin, and I wanted them to feel like they were valued and that they weren't just making up the numbers. You know, I wanted them to be heard. And when the opportunity came up just before Christmas to get involved, I was like, oh God, you know, is it too soon for me? You know, should I allow a period of time pass before I go in, so that I'm not playing with my old teammates? And then I was having a think about it, and I said, you know what? I'm 36. I have the time. I don't have kids right now. I will have kids hopefully in a couple of years, and I won't be able to give Dublin the time. So where men have the opportunity to go in at any point, I think women are necessarily dictated by where they are in their lives and, you know, what their priorities are. So right now my priority is Dublin Camogie, because that's the opportunity that I can afford to take. So while I suppose I was wondering about necessarily going into an environment where the girls would know me as a player, I think that I don't need to worry about being seen as a coach, because I was always so much older than them anyway.
Yeah.
Like they were 17, 18, 19 and I was 30. So they probably thought I was their mother anyway, you know? So yeah, now it's just a case of, you know, another grandmother or something. I don't know, because they've all grown up. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely made it easier.
Yeah. And I get the sense you're really excited, because like being involved, you're not a player, you're a coach. That's going to scratch that itch. Like you were saying, you're still there, you're still in that environment.
100%. And we obviously haven't got back to the pitch yet, but as we've started to build the schedule for the next kind of 4 to 8 weeks, you know, with a view to getting back to the pitch on April 19th.
Yeah.
Donny Fox and Adrian O'Sullivan, the manager, you know, their energy is so infectious.
Yeah.
You know, they obviously see this group of players that are to their mind untapped in terms of what has their potential, and seeing them layer the kind of the workload over the last 8 or 9 weeks through the different apps that they were able to use, and I suppose the communication and engagement that they had with the players. I really feel like the players are getting a 5-star experience from two guys who, so obviously Adrian's experience is vast now, and incorporates both men's intercounty teams and women's intercounty teams, and happens to be with Thomastown last year from Kilkenny for the Camogie. Couple that with Donny Fox's experience. He's Nadia Power was one of his athletes.
Yeah.
He understands conditioning and athletic development.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't think the girls have ever experienced.
Really.
Yeah. No. And for them to do that at this juncture, and us to have had the time to focus on that over the last 8 or 9 weeks, before we get to the pitch and before things start to get blurry and there's 30 hurleys in the mix and slitters flying everywhere. I suppose all of the noise, and actually this is something that I was thinking about, because Dublin Camogie, over the years, there's been so many different players come in and out.
Yeah.
You can be a Dublin Camogie player very easily, because I suppose just in terms of numbers and commitment and things like that, you can get to wear the jersey very quickly, but I don't think you necessarily understand how much it takes to wear the jersey and be successful in the jersey. And we have a new group of players who have come in this year, and their first experience is a 9-10 week commitment that's totally focused on them improving as athletes away from the pitch. And they will hopefully see the fruits of their labor in 4 weeks' time when we hit the pitch on April 19th. And they'll have done all of this work and made all of this commitment before they've ever got to put on the jersey. And I think that's a real game changer. All of a sudden, we're not telling you what it takes to be a Dublin Camogie player.
You're doing it.
You've had to do all of this work just to get onto the pitch for a 4-week trial, essentially, because we have a 44 players on the panel, and we'll have to cut the panel to 35. So we've had this group of players who, some of them have never experienced senior intercounty, and they've gotten a 5-star treatment now for the last 9 weeks. To get themselves to that level, and I'm really excited for them, because I think when they get the jersey, then it's going to mean so much more, because they have been so far away from it for the last 9 weeks, and they've had to do it all by themselves. So that's certainly a game changer for me.
What is the potential with the squad then going forward?
I genuinely think that this squad, with the results that they've managed to get over the last kind of 5-6 years at different stages, wins against Wexford, an All-Ireland semi-final, wins against the likes of, I suppose, the likes of Clare, the likes of Tip, or different results that have gone well, and then different games that they've been very competitive in. I know last year in the league, they set up really well against Galway in the league before everything kind of was dismantled. What this Dublin team needs is consistency of application for a period of time, and the same group of players committing for a period of time. The airport's probably the biggest disadvantage Dublin Camogie has, because it's very close for a cohort of those players who are 18, 19, 20, 21. They're like, good luck, see ya, I'm off on the day one. And you're like, no, we just spent 2 seasons working with you. You were just coming to your prime. Where are you going? and that's probably why this season it's so positive, is because
There
everybody,
isn't J1s really going on. There's not many
no,
people going, if any. So that's a
yeah.
good plus to have them around. Who's more excited to get back playing, the players or the management?
We've got, if I'm being really honest, I would say me and Adrian and Donny
Yeah.
are absolutely hopping out of our skin to get back. The girls, will probably be, I suppose, a bit apprehensive because it's a new environment for them. And what I'm looking forward to is, and this is something that I remember as a player, the environment was necessarily dictated by the mood of the manager.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. It's like if the manager was in bad form, then the session was a tough session.
Yeah.
I knowing what I know now, having played for as long as I've played with all of the different teams that I've played with, I never want a team that I'm involved with to come to a training session worried or concerned that the manager's going to be in a bad mood, or worried and concerned that they're not going to be good enough. Yes, there's levels of, I suppose, commitment, and there's levels of there's a standard that will have to be maintained across all of the training sessions. But I think you can maintain a standard while still having a smile on your face.
Yeah.
And everybody should feel like they can smile in a training session. And I know there's the Roy Keane mentality, I don't like seeing lads with smiles on their faces. They're not working hard enough. I genuinely, some of my favorite days where I'm antagonizing the full back, I have a smile like from here to here. Yeah, literally. And the manager's looking in going, is she even concentrating? And I'm like, this is my best self. Like I am having the best crack here right now. Winding this full back up. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I want the girls to come into training every night and just be excited about improving themselves as players. And that's what's most exciting, is that if they improve individually, then naturally the team as a collective will improve. And like everybody in the squad has a value. Nobody's there because it's to make up the numbers. Because every time somebody everybody who improves within the setup is going to be a value within the setup. So why would you pick some players to improve and not others? You want everyone coming up at the same time.
And it's funny because I had a question here: how has your playing career shaped your role as a coach? But what you were saying there reminded me of that time you were with soccer, that time you were with Cork. Everything has kind of come together, and you understand. I think you've unique perspective. Like obviously the lads would as well; they would have played, but because you aren't that far removed from that kind of environment, you kind of know, right, this is not the best way, but it's how you like and how you see you can get results is by doing what you just said.
And I think it's important to have conversations with everybody. Sometimes I'd ask some of the girls and I'd say, what's your best position? They go, oh, I don't know. And I say, oh, in Cork we'd know. And they go, what? I say, oh, in Cork we'd all know our best position. I said, we wouldn't be shy about saying our best position. They go, oh, but maybe I'm a left back or a right back, but I always play. I said, oh no, where do you feel most confident? And I said, don't be shy about saying that. And they go, oh, I must have a think about that. I said, this is important. I said, you're looking to help yourself, but when you help yourself, you help the team. So I really need you.
It's player empowerment, I think. And it's, I think the new shift, I think the Dublin senior men's have really shown it's the player, the players drive the culture, not the managers do as well. They play a big part, but if the players buy in and the players drive that, geez, you're on to a winner right there.
Yes. And what the environment needs to have is no excuses. So if the girls have no excuses and every single thing is done to ensure that the only thing they are concerned about is the slitter, I really don't see how they can't enjoy themselves. I think the barriers that you put in place, be it a crap pitch. Like I remember 2 years ago, the girls were training, 2 years ago now, on a rugby pitch, right? And they were practicing penalties into a rugby goal. And I was standing there, and I had come down to help out, and I was standing there going, what is the benefit of standing in a rugby goal with no net that's, 2 feet higher than the actual GA goal, and you're practicing penalties like a chocolate teapot? Useless. Like I said, no, like, let's give them an opportunity. Let's give them a pitch that's their pitch, that they understand the confines of, that they want to play in, and they learn every bit of it, you have to make something familiar, and you have to make it feel like home. And then, then you want to go there,
100%.
like the girls have spent 3 or 4 years driving up and down the country of Dublin, playing at different pitches and being fitted in at the back of a goal, or being fitted in 1/3 of a pitch, because nobody made any room for them, and
whereas
I know
now I can tell from this conversation that's not what's going to happen now, because you're like, everyone else is going to make room for Dublin Camogie, because the three is, and the rest of the management are driving that, and you're going for that. We're going for perfection, and we're going to reach excellence kind of mentality.
Yeah, Kevin Broderick is our logistics manager, and Kevin is involved with the county board, which is massively helpful, because obviously he's been involved for a number of years, and he's also very passionate about making sure that that Dublin GA makes room for the Dublin senior camogie team, and as a result, he has found a home for us.
Brilliant. And
that's what's really exciting. And I know myself and Adrian at the start of the Women's Hurling podcast used to have a kind of a tete-a-tete, and Adrian would be like, I'm not talking about Dublin Camogie anymore. And I'd be like, can I just, and he'd be saying, how are they going to fare in championship? And I'd say, well, you know what? They haven't got this done this week. And he'd like, no, Sarah, I think the players need to be accountable. And he used to say all this stuff. And I go, yes, they're accountable. I said, you'll never meet a more committed bunch of players.
Yeah.
But I said, if they're turning up to a rugby pitch, Adrian, to do a camogie training session,
100%.
There's only so much you're going to get out of it. So I think I basically made him fall in love with Dublin Camogie.
He didn't know he was getting himself into this.
No, he didn't. He was just being wound slowly, and now he's the boss. So it's great.
There you go. Yeah. Look, you're getting me excited to watch Dublin Camogie this year. So we've big expectations there. The pressure's on.
Do you know what? I hope so, because the expectations can lead to great things. We want to be the team that people are saying, God, they're making inroads, and there's a group of players there that just need to hurl. They're athletes first and foremost. And that's what I would have always said about Dublin over the years, is that when you turn up in January to do your pre-season, they're already fit.
Yeah,
and I'll say this, like the country girls, like we would have taken Christmas off, and and then I'd have come back in going, oh my God, like, do these ones ever let up? But it's just the way they train. Like they are always doing something.
Yeah.
So
God,
so it's just hurling now.
Yeah, here we go. If anyone's listening, make sure to tune into Dublin Camogie this year. We've big things to look forward to.
Big things to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good. So we're going to wrap up with the sideline 7. It's the same 7 questions for every single guest. I don't know. I didn't give you a heads up with these, so you might be struggling with some of them. Question 1: what is your favourite quote?
Oh, can I come back?
Yeah, well, I actually wrote one down because I want to ask you about it. If opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. Can you explain that one?
That's me. Right. I actually when I finished up with Cork, I didn't know that I wanted to get back into Camogie, Intercounty, and I suppose going to Dublin and playing with Vincent and committing to it wholeheartedly and fully resulted in me getting the opportunity to play Intercounty again and creating a new persona for myself. And I built that door, out of a desire to be relevant again and to make a contribution again, because I didn't feel like I had done enough, and I suppose that's what that means. Yeah, I built a door, and it's all of these great things have come out of it, and here I am now, my first intercounty mandate as a coach, of Dublin, and I suppose feeling like feeling like I'm the right person for the job too, which is really exciting, So that's it's amazing when you build a door.
Yeah, it can lead to so many other doors. Yeah, no, I really like that one.
Yeah.
Best sporting event you've been to?
Ooh, the All Ireland finals for me, always and ever.
Okay.
The hurling finals specifically. Hardest one to take, the result would have been losing to Clare in 2013. I was in the press box and I was working that day, and I had JBM is God t-shirt on, and literally, obviously the most biased person in the press box with the JBM is God t-shirt and standing up, thinking that we were going to win it. And then obviously Colin Galvin ruined all my dreams. Yeah. But that sense of euphoria to disappointment in the space of like 4 minutes, like I'll never forget it. And then of course I had to go downstairs and interview. Be in work, go downstairs and interview the Cork lads who were on the floor. Yeah. And then throw my head into the dressing room to see the Clare lads with an accordion. Yeah. Celebrating, having the absolute time of their lives. And I was going, this is so surreal. But definitely the maddest day. Yeah. And the best events that I was at, even though the result didn't go our way.
Yeah. Biggest setback or challenge so far in your career?
It's probably injury, in that it was the biggest setback and then I didn't get back. So I think all of the ways that I masked that knee injury, either consciously or subconsciously, resulted in me having to step out for good. And that's probably the most disappointing aspect of it, is I wonder if I'd caught it earlier, would I have extended my career? And, you look at Sinead Goldrick, who did a cruciate, at the very beginning of her career with Dublin, had it fixed, and I don't think it troubled her again. So I wonder at 2021, 22, potentially when it did go, or whenever it went, if I had tweaked it, could I have got that operation that would have meant that it would never have bothered me again? Yeah.
Biggest achievement on or off the pitch?
Biggest achievement on the pitch would have been that All Ireland in 2005. It was a culmination of 10 years of work from, 10 years old, wanting to be the person go up the Hogan's stand. So that's 2005. That's putting yourself in the spot exactly where you wanted to be when you were 10.
Yeah. Advice to your 18-year-old self?
Slow down. Australia will always be there. And if you hang on until you're like 40, you'll have more money to spend. Going to Australia poor is never good. Australia's an expensive space. So slow the hell down. Yeah.
Dream dinner guest and why?
It's Roy Keane.
Yeah.
As everything about him, I admire so much about him. And then obviously, I don't know if we'd have got on, because it might have been too much crack. So, but then I wonder, would he have really appreciated the fact that when I went in to a tackle, it was me, ball and man and all. So, I think he'd love my toughness, but he'd have been obviously annoyed that I
too much
was
crack.
Smiling from ear to ear. Yeah, too much crack. So if I could just have a chat with him to figure out if there was like a happy medium that we could have worked out, he'd be my ideal guest. Yeah.
Final question: if your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
I haven't even got married yet, and I haven't even had kids yet. And Jesus, God, I think this. See, I have this mad notion that I want to manage the Cork Camogie team to go full circle. Yeah. And I suppose this part with Dublin now is the precursor in that. Yeah, I'm going to get this experience, and I'm going to go to Cork, and then I'm going to have this experience in Cork. So, so we'll say this is chapter 8 of.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're learning the trade, kind of learning the trade probably.
Yeah, like I'm so looking forward to getting onto the pitch and the body language and just receiving players and understanding players and that's something that I'm really excited about is to be in the middle of a drill.
Yeah.
And I've been working and coaching since I was 19, and with Cork, the county board, the men's county board, I had this really cool gig when I was in college where they had basically a coaching kind of budget. So I spent my time coaching in boys' schools and up in and I was in Glasheen, I was in the Mardyke, I was up in Brian Dillon's in the north side, and the Brian Dillon's boys were brilliant. I had them from under 13 to under 16, and they were the best bunch, and really, really talented group. And, they didn't have a female coach ever before. And you can imagine they were obviously full of crack, and there was a mutual respect there.
Yeah.
And I stayed with them for 3 years, I suppose I forget that now, I'm talking about learning my trade now, but I've been coaching my whole life. So we've just reached a point now where now I'm working with a group of players who are, I suppose, kind of at a level and they need to go.
Yeah.
They have to take they have to take a big step up, and it'll be interesting to see if myself, Adrian, Donny, and the team that's there can get them to the next level.
100%. And I'll be really looking forward to watching. Look, Sarah, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I better let you go and enjoy the rest of the nice weather, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Orla. Very good. Thanks so much.
A massive thank you to Sarah for joining me today. I thoroughly enjoyed our chat, and I just want to wish her and all of the Dublin Senior Camogie team the best of luck with the upcoming intercounty season. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you did enjoy the episode, be sure to leave a rating and a review. If you're interested in starting up your own podcast, be sure to get in touch with the Primal Productions team over on Instagram @PrimalPro.